Debt snowball is where you just focus on the smallest balance and you work your way up. Debt avalanche just focuses on your highest interest rate and you work your way down. These are basic strategies that you can utilize just to get started, right? So we're combining the whole financial and physical health, right? They say the hardest part about going to the gym is actually going to the gym, right? Like getting in your car, right, driving to the gym and opening the door. Like that's the hardest part of going to the gym.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your health coach and host, Jenn, always here with you every week. And I want to preface this one by saying this episode has been a long time in the making. And first of all, I wanted to talk about this, and then I knew the perfect person to join me. Then time got away from us, but we're here now. We are making it happen, and it's, interestingly, the perfect time. So we're talking about our financial health and its connection to our physical health and what we can do about it in 2024 and beyond. But interestingly, I recently heard that the third Monday of January is when everybody gets their credit card bills from December or something like that. I was like, I don't know. Anyway, let me introduce you. So joining me today is my friend and colleague, Jessica Sterwalt. Jess, welcome officially to Salad with a Side of Fries. We're finally doing it.
We are, finally, yes. This has been a very long time coming, and I am so grateful that one, that you asked me to be on here, and two, that you guys are all, hopefully, will take away some nuggets and change how you look at the way we do money, right?
I love it. Yeah. And this isn't, really an interview of sorts. Like, we're going to have a conversation, but will you share with everybody your connection to this topic? And so, why it was destined for us to do this together.
Besides being a budget lover, and we always talk about love language, right? My love language is numbers, like across the board. So besides those two facts, my background is actually what brings me to the table today, if you will. So I have been in the industry for over 23 years, and yes, classified as a very vast industry because you'll understand when I tell you my background. So started off 23 years ago in the banking industry, worked my way up and just kind of managed and maintained the customer side of things. Well, then that bank merged with another bank, and no names shall be named today. But ethics and integrity were called to the table, and their ethics and integrity did not align with mine. So my entire branch got laid off in that merger. But it was a great thing for me, Jen, because it actually opened the door for me to get a contract with the Federal Reserve. So I went from front facing to everything behind the scenes. And I saw and I heard some things I probably wasn't supposed to know, but it actually changed the way that I looked at my own money. And I knew that if it changed the way that I looked at it, that I knew I needed to share that with other people. So I learned one of the things that I really took away was that there's enough money in this world for everyone to live
1,000%.
Everyone. And that was actually what sparked my, if that's the case, then why do we have such a big divide between our lower, middle, upper, and our wealthy? And yes, that was a pause, you guys, because that is the vast difference between those two groups. And so for me, I wanted to better understand. So I don't have a love of money. I want to make sure that's very clear at the very beginning of this. I do not have a love of money. I have a love of understanding money, how it moves, how it flows, how it ebbs, right? I want to know, how can I make my money work for me in every capacity? So where did I start? Taxes. This will be my 21st season doing taxes. For me, it's more about the numbers. I love the number side of it because the numbers make sense to me, whereas they don't most, right? I truly believe taxes they're not black and white like most people make them out to be. They are black, white, and gray. But in order to play in the gray, you have to understand the tax laws that were given to us to be able to abide with the laws and stay in safe harbor. So I do a really big job of making sure that I stay in that safe harbor, if you will. And that's what gives me the ability to move in the gray area for taxes. My clients really appreciate the effort that I put into understanding that, because usually they have a much greater outcome with me. But that was just one step. That was just the first initial dive into this. Well, then 7 years ago, I got into credit. It's actually been almost 8 now at this point. So again, just another piece of the pie, if you will, and understanding how credit works. I always call credit a fickle mistress, and we all know those. If you take care of it, they will take care of you. If you do not, it's all you know what to pay.
Yep, exactly.
And so that's exactly how credit works. And so for me, I wanted, again, to share that knowledge from a credit perspective. So then I found myself having clients come to me in the credit space, but looking for debt assistance. And I'm not talking about refinancing or consolidating or negotiating. I'm talking about people that were paying hundreds or even up to thousands of dollars towards their debt. And they're like, Jess, the numbers aren't reflecting the amount of money that I'm putting towards this. Like, why aren't my balances going down if I'm throwing all of this extra to it? So that's where I actually really started diving into the debt field, because I wanted to better understand, like, if we have all of these strategies, like, why aren't people really becoming successful and paying off debt? And it's because we're not, again, there's a lot of missing pieces there. So I am actually here because I love to educate people, but it's more than just giving you the facts and figures. It's helping you create your money story. And I know we're going to talk about that later, so I don't want to give too much in this, but it is. It's making those numbers, making that money make financial sense is what I do on a daily basis, which is why I am here with you guys today, is to share some of that knowledge with you.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're going to tie together Jess's expertise and the physical wellness stuff and put it all together. So really quick, because I feel like we could just keep going and dive in. I have to tell our members what they're getting. So members, your recipe this week is for lemon garlic chicken. Citrus, interestingly enough, is in season right now. So not only is this seasonally delicious, yes, there is winter citrus. I know. I saw that face. I know.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But this is also a really easy and great way to change up, the usual chicken, or maybe the economical chicken, right? Do you remember Father of the Bride when he's like the chipper chicken, right? So the chicken and the lemons, by the way, are economical. And then also, members, you're getting a 30-minute consultation with Jess so you can review your personalized savings report. So we'll talk more about that soon, but it's like a $250 value for free, plus the time with Jess. It's a massive get this week. So members, if you want this recipe or the consultation with Jess to discuss your personal savings report, be sure you're a member. Go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. For $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners, plus access to live Q&A sessions. It's a total deal. When you take advantage of the full offerings, you're going to save far more than that $10 cost. It's a no-brainer way to show yourself that your health is a priority. Plus, being a member supports this podcast and this community so we can continue to bring you new episodes and experts every week. So remember, all you have to do is head over to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries, or just click the link in the episode notes because it's easier. Once you're there, you click support now, enter your email and payment info, click subscribe, and you're all set. You'll get this week's recipe for the lemon garlic chicken and a way to schedule your complimentary savings report that Jess is going to do 30 minutes with you with a $250 value for that report. Absolutely amazing. All right, Jess, I know we started to get into it all in the industry of finance that, by the way, is so similar to the industry of food. But there are other connections between our physical health and our financial health. So maybe we start there, right? Because there's now an official diagnosis.
There is. It took us, I'm not even going to say how long, a long time. But thanks to the Financial Health Institution, you can actually go and look this up yourself. There is a final diagnosis of chronic financial stress. I know. Wow, what a name. But it is what it is, right? We don't get any special, wording or anything. This is straight off the cuff. This is what people are dealing with. And it is from a financial stress perspective, it is so easy to have that chronic piece of it. And it affects so many other areas of our life from a physical perspective, from lack of sleep, from anxiety and depression, from overeating or not eating because you're too stressed to be able to stomach anything. There's so many things, our memory, our cognitive skills, financial stress and physical health go hand in hand.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, there are even some of the symptoms, right? Like what might we be experiencing that we're not necessarily connecting to our financial stress, but the financial piece is such a cause of stress, right? And as, we're preparing for this conversation and other things, similar to the episode that I did about connecting our food habits and our phone habits, I'm going to do on connecting our food habits with our financial habits. But for today, I think focusing on the stress piece of it, right? Here's how I think of it. The leading cause of death is heart disease. The leading cause of heart disease is stress. The leading cause of stress is money.
Sad but true.
Right? And last time you and I were talking, we were even saying like one of the biggest causes of divorce.
Can I say it the way I told
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I had told Jen was top 2 reasons for divorce. And you can, again, look up the statistics. Top 2 reasons, sex and finances. And even though those seem to be 2 separate aspects or components, if you will, of your marriage, sadly, those 2 also go hand in hand.
Well, and they are also both heart health because, so everybody go back to our heart health episode from last year, which was heart health is sexual health, right? It's all connected, So I think to say like, how did we get here, right? It's a long story. And frankly, very similar to our nutrition information. We're not taught this financial stuff, right? Like I remember a class in high school where they taught us to like balance a checkbook, but it also like didn't really have context when they were teaching it. And then I think I learned more about interest rates in finance classes than in anything else. I mean, this is also your space, but do you remember learning any of this growing up?
It was literally, I think, so I graduated, kind of gives you my age. I know, it's okay. I graduated in 2000. And my senior year was the last year that they were offering that economy class where you learned those basics, right? However, if you go back about 10 years prior to that, that was actually when they changed that class because it used to be more of a men learn how to wood shop, women learn how to sew buttons, and we learned how to account for money, right?
I remember my sister learned how to sew a pillow. And we started baking. We learned how to properly measure, although they made the boys learn it too. But yeah.
Right. Yep. But that was the thing. Wood shopping, sewing, and baking. And then there was some little fine tune, like, here's what you need to do to know how to actually create a budget, if you will. Right. But again, it was high level and it was one class, usually about junior or senior year. And that was the extent of it. That class shifted to where then you just got like the basics and it was more of a math class than it was anything else. But there was no, like you said, it didn't pertain. There was no relatability. There was no like, I'm just adding up numbers, but they don't mean anything to me. So I don't really understand the lesson or the how to take this into real world because it's not being taught. And to your point, it's not being taught. Even in college, the class that you would need to take to really, I guess almost like class of like adulting finance, you have to pay for that class and show up for said class. Show me a college student that's going to take a class that doesn't count towards their credit hours and I have to pay for this class, but there's no benefit to me. They're not going to do it. Like nobody's going to take that class, right? And so that's why they realized that it wasn't going to be beneficial. And so now where are we learning about our finances? Where are we learning about our money? Friends, family.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel very fortunate, right? Like my parents did teach me these things, but interestingly, both my parents are accountants by training, right? But I had a very, to that point, and I know we'll come to money story, but to that point, like I had a very different money story than other people in my life because of, the conversations that my family did have around it or, those kinds of things. But I think suffice to say, no wonder we're stressed. Like there's nothing wrong with you. Of course, this is where we ended up.
Yeah, I was going to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. It's literally a lack of is what's missing in society. But the other piece, Jen, if I can take it one step further, is we have gone from a cash society to a cashless society.
Yes.
Right? So again, think back when you and I were teenagers and young adults, we got paid with a check that we then had to go to the bank to cash. And then we got cold, hard cash. Like it was, we could feel it.
Tangible.
We could see it. Right. We could smell it. It created that tangible asset to us, right? When was the last time you had cash on hand? Like any of you, think about that, right? Because we no longer have that ability in the society because most everything is swipe. But with that takes away that relationship because you and I both know, at least I know when I was a kid, I was stingy. Like my mom can even attest to that. Like I was frugal to like frugal to frugal. Like I was not parting with my money if I could help it. And man, that last $100 bill, it was like, do I really need this? Do I really need power? Like, let me think about this for a second. Because there was such a relationship component to our money that we do not have today. And with that, without that relationship, now goes our thought process, our moment to pause and ponder to make sure we're making solid financial decisions. So that's actually how we got here is it's twofold. We're not being taught and we're losing out on that relationship piece. And so here we are today.
Yeah. And it's very real. Like we share, there's that study about like even maintaining our 2021 standard of living, right?
So if I can find the link, I will absolutely send it to you, Jen, so you can post that in your article.
Yeah.
But yes, there was a study done that was released just last month. So I mean, talking like not even a month ago, you guys, that said for people to maintain their quality of living from just 2021, we're talking 2 years ago, it now requires a family of 4 to have an additional $11,994 a year in income. That's almost $1,000 a month to maintain the same quality of life that we just had 2 years ago.
Right. I mean, it's very real.
Very much so. And this is something where it's affecting everyone, not just the lower income, not just the middle income, not just the blue collar, it literally is affecting everyone.
Yeah. And I think often too, again, so similar to what can happen when we have health challenges, we can sort of stick our head in the sand or like put our fingers in our ears and close our eyes. And it's like that toddler being like, la, 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 like, I can't hear you, you know? And so it's part of why we want to have this conversation, you know, but I think the key first step, right, is let's recognize that it's another piece of our lives that we want to reclaim control and reclaim health.
Absolutely. Well, and that actually leads us into that money story and really knowing what your money story is. And because some of us do that whole fingers in your ears, like I can see some of my clients doing that before they come to me, because that's true. Like people are like, when I talk about debt, like it sends me into a depressive state, or I shut down. I can't. Part of it is because of the negative emotions that we've been taught to associate with debt. While we weren't taught how to manage it, we were taught how to negate emotions with it. And that's what blows me away. We were taught to look at debt as a negative state, or, oh my God, if I'm in debt, it's something to be ashamed of, or, you know, that somebody's going to judge me, or there's guilt or grief, or, I mean, you name the negative emotion, like it's there, but it doesn't have to be. That is self-projected solely because you weren't taught any better, right? For me, I will never judge a single client that comes across my desk, mainly because I've been there, I've done that. I got the t-shirt. Actually, I got quite a few of them t-shirts. Like right. I will never judge
part
a
of
client.
The problem right now.
Part of, exactly. But the other part of it is I'm not a person that's going to judge anyone for having to do something to survive life. Like, who would I be if I judged you solely because life happened to you and this was the only way you knew how to manage it? Hey, kudos to you. Give yourself a high five on the back. Like, you survived. Why would I judge you for that? Like, I would never.
Right.
But I also want to point out, like, that emotional component, and I'm glad you're going to do a separate segment because we could get deep into the weeds on that. But there is such an emotional component to why we look and view money the way we do. So when I am teaching people how to really take back control of their finances and their money, One, it does start with understanding their money story. Like, what is their money saying about them, their spending habits and their connection and their, like, what is their true number to begin with, right? The other part of it is identifying those emotions so that not that we take them out of the equation, it's so that we're able to identify them, acknowledge them, but then work past them, right? Because I want to teach my clients debt is a tool. That is all it is. It is a tool to be used to either get what you want or get what you need. It is not a state of being, and it is not an emotional component to your life. It is not a burden. It is simply a tool. And once we get to that point, once we identify your numbers, that burden is lifted because you realize, oh, yeah, these numbers actually make sense to me now because I've taken the emotional component out of the equation.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, I mean, again, I just keep coming back to this, but like that was the big shift for me with food, right? It was like when I could have an intellectual approach to food versus an emotional approach to food made all the difference. And then we come back to what causes us stress and the impact of the stress, and we get to our physical health and all these things. And we're talking about sort of like, you know, this money story. I remember the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, right? He calls it the money blueprint. And it's like all of these things that we believe about money. And you started to talk about it with money being a tool. So do we view money as a tool, or do we view debt as some sort of failure, or, you know, all of these kinds of things? And I mean, I want to say something too, because for some people listening, like money might not be a challenge in your life, but there's a piece to understanding the world that we live in and that everything is always changing. So it might not be right now. But part of our healthcare system is also such that people are sometimes one diagnosis away from bankruptcy, right? And I hate saying it that way, but it's true.
It's true. I was going to say across the board, people are $400 to $1,000 away from financial ruins. One mishap, whether it be health related or life related, literally $400 to $1,000 is the difference between them staying afloat and financial ruins. That's how fine, like that's the fine line that we're on right now.
Yeah. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't address the elephant in the room, which is that even wellness costs money.
It does. So if I can kind of go a little bit further, you know how we always talk about that red pill versus the blue pill type situation? People want what's fast and easy, but most of the time they don't realize how much more they end up spending on that fast and easy, but it also, because it caused so many other issues, right? I have so to go for medical for a second, I have a chiropractor that I work with that he had a t-shirt made where it said, I take this prescription. And then it went into, because of the symptom that I got from this position, and I had to now take this prescription, and literally like a whole t-shirt of all of these different medicines they were on for one problem. And it was like, that really puts it in perspective is that's the easy pill. Sure, it's easy today, but it's going to cost you so much more in that long game, right? Whether that's health, whether that's finance, it's the same result. You are going to spend 10 times plus simply because you were looking for easy.
Right. Well, I often think of it as wellness money today or sickness money tomorrow. And maybe not tomorrow, right? Maybe it's 10, 20, 30 years down the road, but it's going to cost us somewhere. And then again, when we understand our money story and we have some of these tools, it's another tool in our tool belt to choose how we proactively address that, but at least then it's a choice rather than feeling like you're backed into a corner.
Right. Well, same thing, same rules apply on the finance side, right? A lot of people think, oh, I just need to make more money. And I'm like, well, sure, you could make all the money in the world, but if you're not keeping that money in your pocket, what good is it doing you? Right? So again, same principle, just said a little differently because you're dealing with two different aspects. But it still says, it's like, how can I keep me healthy, happy, whole, financially, and physically? And this is how, as you start by having that conversation, first and foremost.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so I want to get into some of the tools, right? We were talking about the tools to then have money be a tool in our life. And I think we need some tools to get there because, right, improving our financial health is therefore also improving our mental and our physical health. Really quick though, let's take a break for our partner for this episode. So friends, if you're a fan of Salad with a Side of Fries podcast and looking for how you can support us, we've got you covered with our awesome merchandise. Our brand new seasonal items are available for you on the website right now. So there's a new muscle tee that says you can't outrun your fork. We also have tanks and muscle tees that are just hashtag Team Salad or hashtag Team Fries. And then of course, sweatshirts and a quarter zip, a cropped hooded sweatshirt that all say Salad with a Side of Fries. And then there's kitchen gadgets, like we have a new cutting board and pot holders. So lots of new items just for you. And of course, you get to show off your love of the podcast and share if you are hashtag Team Salad or hashtag Team Fries. So head over to our website, asaladwithasideoffries.com/merch. And then you can browse through the full collection. We've already sold out of items. We've had to restock and change things. So if you're contemplating, do it. Snag the official Salad with a Side of Fries mug, perfect for sipping your favorite brew while enjoying the latest episode. Or go for the portable Bluetooth speaker or the earbud case. You know, perfect accessories for any podcast fan. And you can take a piece of the podcast with you wherever you go. And maybe these become your best anchors to remind yourself of your commitment to your health. And today, to your finances. So simply text the word fries, F-R-I-E-S, to 844-947-4846. You'll receive the link right to your phone. Check out all the Salad with a Side of Fries merch. Your purchase supports all the work we do here, shows the podcast pride, and maybe sparks a conversation for you to pay it forward and inspire someone else to change their health too. So again, text the word fries, F-R-I-E-S, to 844-947-4846. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. Okay, Jess. So some of these tools that we can do to move in the direction of reclaiming our financial health, right? Piece one is our money story, right? And you said to me once, if someone doesn't know their money story, they don't own their money. Say more.
That's exactly what it is. If you don't know your money, you do not own your money. Somebody else does. And that was actually told to me. I cannot take credit for that. That was given to me by a very dear friend. But it's so true. And the reason why I say that is because if you don't know what your household needs to sustain life, if you will, right? Even if it's keeping you here where that water is like bubbling up, you're almost there. If you don't know what that number is, you're not ever going to make it. Right? And I say that for across the board, whether money is a thing for you or it's not a thing for you, right? Because it's across the board. If you need $6,000 a month, then you need to know what that number is. If you need $3,000 a month, you need to know what that number is, but it needs to be realistic. So the problem with that, Jen, is too many times when we're creating this realistic budget and coming with this realistic number, it's not, because we're forgetting things like, Amazon or Salad with their Fries merch, like we're forgetting those other things that we do to even the degree of groceries and gas. People don't even think to put that into that number. So in knowing your money, you need to really start with write it all down. And I mean everything. And if you need, like a checklist or a guide or something, like you can literally Google budget worksheet and find thousands of different tools that you can, resources there. But it's just really getting acclimated to what am I spending, debt and monthly expenses to just maintain my lifestyle. And then beyond, what else do I want to do? Like, do I want to go to Belize in the next year? Do I want to go to, Ireland on a trip? Like, what are those other things I want to do? Those also need to be accounted for as well, right? So that's where getting into that money story, you have to be real with yourself and just be okay with whatever those numbers say. Because again, they don't define you. I will say that it also shows you where your money is going, but in a different light of, I had a client do this in the very beginning, even before they met with me. They wrote all of the things down that they were doing. They didn't realize that they were paying for 3 different gym memberships. It's like $150 a month. They had no clue.
Wow.
And I was like,
and then how many of them were they actually going to?
Right. That was my question. I was like, so how many gyms are you going? And they were like, well, actually, I haven't been in a gym in over a year. And I'm like, so you have been paying $150 a month and haven't even been reaping the benefits. Right. I do too. However, I'm like, can we do something with that money a little differently? Can you reclaim 100 of that? Keep the 50, make a goal to go, but reclaim that $100, And just like I had a client last night that, again, just kind of looking at the numbers as a whole, they were paying for 2 different subscription services. Didn't even realize they had 2 subscriptions of the same thing. And this is where, like, I know you've heard people talk about, like, how many subscriptions are you paying for? But that's a part of it. It's like, do you really know how much you're spending on a monthly basis? If you don't, that's your first step. Now, I say first because I don't want people to think that's the end all be all or that's too overwhelming for me to be able to do. Like, okay, I get that. So if that's the case, reach out for support and help. Find somebody that's separate from your household, from you, that can just, again, focus on taking the emotion out and saying, okay, how much are you really spending? Like, let's really identify the money aspect of it, right? So I always say, pull on a friend, like call our friend, or even, I know sometimes people don't want their, especially their close friends to know, they think they're going to judge.
Yeah. So interesting that there are so many things that I think we've come a long way in talking openly about our health. The finances piece is still so hush hush and behind closed doors and what we want people to think versus the reality. Like, it's so interesting. And that's why, too, enlisting, just like a coach, right? Enlisting a stranger who's qualified can be really helpful.
I agree. And that's where, but make sure they're qualified. Like, that's the piece. I have had horror stories of people that reached out to people that were not qualified to have these questions. And they did. They gave them bad advice, where it's like, anything that I tell you, you can do your research and find for yourself, right? When I make a claim on your debt, when I'm like, hey, by the way, did you know that credit card, you just keep making those minimum payments, it's going to take 30 years to pay off. I can back that because I can say, look, don't believe me. Go pull your statement. It actually says it right there in a box. And it's one of those things where find somebody that's qualified, right? Just like we wouldn't want to leave our health to someone who's not qualified. We definitely don't want to leave our financial health to someone who's not qualified, right? So one, make sure they understand the most up-to-date information and can back it, right? But two, make sure they're passionate. I think for me, that's the biggest piece that's like a seller for me, because my clients know that I care. Like, I almost take on their debt situation as like this is mine now. Like, I got to figure it out with them, because I do care in the end result. And even if they choose not to work with me, I'm still investing in them, that they walk away and go, I feel so much better about my finances now, where I actually truly feel like I'm back in control. I'm like, that's what I do. Like, that's it right there. Like, take back ownership.
So, that control piece, right? Yeah. Reclaiming that control, taking back ownership of our financial health. When you stop listening today, take one step. Maybe it is downloading that budget worksheet. Maybe it is, just kind of getting honest, or sitting down with your partner and being like, yo, this is causing me stress. Is it causing you stress? Like, can we just get on the same page and, maybe just take your head out of the sand? And then we can take the next step, right? Which might be that budget worksheet, or wherever you are, that next step. So I know you have an incredible offer for everybody of the complimentary savings report. And then our members will get to review that with you. But is that savings report similar to, creating that budget?
It's actually so much more. So within that savings report, I essentially will be doing a financial analysis of everything. So I'm going to be digging into their debt with them, their income, their expenses. Like, I'm doing a full deep dive, but I'm doing it with them. And I think that's what a lot of people, they think that they're going to have to do all of this on their own, all the behind the scenes stuff on their own. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to be right there with you, holding your hand, having those conversations and pulling the information with you. I don't want you sending me stuff, or, I don't want statements. I don't want any, I don't want any of that sent to me. I want to be one-on-one with you, because for me, it is so much more than just data. I want that relationship, because that way I can really make sure that the plan that I create, that savings report I create, takes the person into consideration. So I'm not only creating that money story, but I'm making it relatable to them. So I always say, like, my superpower is in making money make sense, right? Because too many times the reason why we put ourselves, we cover our ears and do that little toddler thing, or we bury our head in the sand, is because we're like, I'm not ready to take ownership because I don't even know what that ownership looks like. And I'm like, it's okay. We're going to do this together. And when I show you those numbers, they're not going to be as scary or as daunting or as emotionally charged as they were, because I've been there through the entire time. Like, this is we are working together, and hand in hand, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to make those numbers make sense.
Okay. So to get that, by the way, everybody, text the word money, MONEY, to 844-947-4846. It's our same phone number. This time you're going to text the word money to 844-947-4846. But I want to make sure that we're also delivering for everybody for showing up right here, right now, today, and pressing play, right? So we've talked about the budget, and for all the people like me rolling their eyes at having to create a budget, right? We're going to use the worksheets. We're going to make it simple. And then, so we have the budget, which is really like our spending, right? Then we also have to get clear on everything that's coming in order to figure out what's our delta, what's the difference, and are we, at a surplus or a deficit? Am I right?
Yep. You're right. No. So this is where it goes beyond the budget too. Now, if you're not ready to really say, okay, I'm ready to speak to a professional, or, I'm ready to take Jessica up on her offer, that's fine. The tools and resources that you're going to have access to, again, Google search, find these for free. There are so many tools that help with debt specific that you can do. Now, I'm going to list the ones that, again, if you're not ready to work with me or talk to me even, the other tools that you can tap into, again, for free.
I even want to jump in for a second, because I do want to caution everybody, when you go to Google and you type in debt, you are going to end up with every company on the planet trying to sell you something. So remember, we did this episode, my top 5 tips for digesting nutrition news. Use those same 5 things with what's popping up when you go to search for these tools on the internet, right? If it sounds too good to be true, if your spidey sense is going off, if they're trying to sell you the be all end all of things, right? Use those same tools so that you're really diligent about the tools that you're using from the internet, because they are there. I just want to caution everybody.
Yeah. And I'm glad you gave that disclaimer, because you are 100% correct. Is there are going to be, the minute you type in anything in regards to debt and money management, just debt in general, they are going to be inundated with, oh God, so much, and so that's where I do caution people, use Google at your own experience and expense, and understand that you're going to get everything. So what I will say is, some of the tools that are out there that can be used for free is the different strategies that we all know and have heard about, right? So like your debt snowball, your debt avalanche, your biweekly payments. Those are things that, principal only payments, like we all have heard about them. And so I want to speak to, those are all free tools that you can absolutely do right now. I'm going to leave my little soapbox out there for a second, but staying on the tools, debt snowball is where you just focus on the smallest balance and you work your way up. Debt avalanche just focuses on your highest interest rate and you work your way down. These are basic strategies that you can utilize just to get started, right? So we're combining the whole financial and physical health, right? They say the hardest part about going to the gym is actually going to the gym, right? Like getting in your car, right, driving to the gym and opening the door. Like that's the hardest part of going to the gym. Same thing with this, is like the hardest part of taking control of your debt is just saying, okay, I'm going to do something. Now, debt snowball and debt avalanche, and even biweekly payments. Again, you can set all that up through your lender. They are strategies that people have been using for decades that do work, which is why people continue to do them. But this is my disclaimer where I was going to say, I'm going to get on my soapbox for half a second. Understand that no matter what strategy you're using, if you are using one strategy to navigate debt, you are leaving time and money on the table. And I am not anti-bank. I am not anti-finance. I actually love the bank for the freedom and flexibility it gives us to leverage debt. What I am is anti-waste your money. I cannot stand to waste my own, and I definitely can't stand to waste my clients. So that's my 30-second soapbox.
So when you say more than one tool, explain what you mean by that a little bit, or give an example.
So the strategies that I just referenced, those are all different tools that you could have in your toolbox, right? Sadly, they just don't play in the same sandbox together. So if you choose a strategy, that is your tool for your sandbox. Like, that's it. You have no other tools to add to it. For me, that's where I've really gone on this massive search for years, trying to find a tool that surpasses everything, right? And why? Let's start there. Why? Why did I go on this massive search? Well, because I did all of those things. I looked at all of those tools and strategies. And Jen, what I realized was missing was math. That's what I realized was missing. Math is what they use to create debt, but nowhere in any of those tools or strategies was math even a thought process and how to pay off debt. So that's actually why I went on a search for something that involved math. And that's where I came across the program that I use to help my clients better their life. And it utilizes math, first and foremost, my favorite part of this, but it also utilizes the same banking strategies that the banks have been using against us for centuries. Interest cancellation, interest float, interest accumulation, strategic payoff, time value of money. The banks aren't sitting on our money. Yeah, y'all heard me. The banks aren't sitting on our money. They're utilizing and leveraging our money with these same strategies to make money on top of money off of our money. The bank isn't investing in anything, but they're reaping all of the benefits, right? So it's utilizing all three strategies, the math, the banking strategy, and the timing. That's actually what sets the program that I utilize. And again, my clients, this is their program too. That's what sets us apart from all of the rest, because we're not just a strategy or a tool. We are, like we hear in the South say, we are everything and the kitchen sink.
Yeah. So a couple resources too for people, like a lot of this conversation, right? The way banks use money, leveraging money to make money, because that's where my perspective on a lot of this is almost like what we were saying before. It's not just making money, but keeping it. And then how do we have our money make money, right? That's really building wealth. And the piece to all of that is, so we gave before Secrets of the Millionaire Mind as a book. I'm also going to recommend to everybody Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that too is a little bit of a primer, or a primer, as some people like to say, right? On understanding how money works in different situations. And then your next one on that is Cash Flow Quadrant, also by Robert Kiyosaki. I'm just going to give everybody all the books, right?
I love it. I love it. Well, because again, this is where some of this stuff can you learn and teach yourself? Yes. Can you become that math genius that can do the math? Yeah, you can. But this is where I'm going to say
technology is helpful there. Right.
Much more. That's the easy button. That's the one time you're going to want that easy button.
And I think that's the objective, right? Really, the objective in this conversation too is not even to say, okay, here's all the money in the world, or here's the thing for you to do to flip the switch, but to raise our awareness and get a clearer picture of where we are right now in connection to our finances, to then be able to take steps forward in a direction that is empowering rather than confronting.
100%. 100%. So Jen, when you said that though, it made me think of, everybody talks about, well, I'll just go win the lottery, right? That's our answer to all of our debt problems. I'll just go win the lottery, right? And we've all said that. I know I have too, especially when it gets up into that billion range. You're like,
win the lottery or make more money or get another job or Right.
So the reason why I point out the lottery is because, again, statistics show people who win the lottery, and I'm talking millions upon millions of dollars, Jen, right? Like true, like life-changing money within 5 years. This is how crazy this statistic is. Within 5 years, they are back in the exact same boat that they were in or worse prior to winning. So this is where us going back to those attainable and tangible steps, right? We're not asking you to dive in and be like so immersed in your debt that when you do come up for air, you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. And like you just walk away from everything. That's not what we want. We want you to understand it is a process, right? So same thing with the lottery winners is I'm like, look, learn how to manage 1,000. So that way, when you start making 10,000, you are capable of managing 10,000 and 9,999 is not going to waste, right? Because then what is that going to open the door to?
Right.
That $100,000, that $1 million, that $1 billion, right? Because you learned to manage what you had. So when the opportunity came for you to make or earn or keep more, you knew how to manage it and not waste it.
Yeah. Love it. Absolutely. And I think saying that even just reminded me of one of the things that is sort of the value of having cash, right? That there's something tangible. Consider how you treat that cash, right? Does it go in a wallet? Does it get shoved into, the bag? Where is that? And how do we treat that? And again, I keep going towards this conversation of like, are you eating standing in the kitchen? Are you shoving the cash, into your pocket and you'll find it next winter when you take your coat out, right? So just consider, and wrapping this up, I think consider how we're treating that and that dynamic.
Absolutely. I could not agree with that more because that's exactly what we do. I mean, how many of us have put on our winter coats only to find $20, $50 in it? Like, whoa, like where'd that come from? Like for me, I have a rule in my house that whoever does the laundry gets to clean the dryer vent. And if there is money in there, it is yours for cleaning the vent. Like, it's like, and so that's the thing. Like, how are we treating our money? Because that is actually how we are treating our money. And I know I said the same thing, but that's the piece of it. That's how we're treating our day to day, not even realizing I'm working all of this time and doing all of these hours and all of these crazy jobs because I got to make ends meet. But how are you treating your day-to-day money is how you're going to treat your day-to-day money, and it's going to reflect in your life.
Yeah. All right. That was kind of a nice way to put a pin in it. But any other final thought?
So I will say, I hope that you guys walked away with some knowledge and ready to tackle this. Most people consider it a mountain. I'm going to be like, it's a little tiny pebble. By the time I get done, it's a pebble. So I do hope that you're ready and willing to take those next steps. The other part of it, Jen, is I just want to stress the importance of speaking with a professional. I love what I get to do because I know when I'm done with my client, I have taken them from a client who feels that burden to they have become so empowered because they know what their money is doing and how it's working for and against them. And it's just such an amazing feeling that I love bestowing that on my clients. So I do hope that everyone that's listening will take me up on my offer. And if nothing else, schedule that conversation so I can really just expose some of the ins and outs of your money, show you how to make that money work for you.
Awesome. So repeating that. So text the word money to 844-947-4846. You'll get the link for that complimentary savings report. And then for our members, you're also going to be able to schedule 30 minutes with Jess. I think for me, to wrap this up, I think this is just another piece of our lives and the world that we're supposed to know, but nobody ever taught us. And so hopefully, and I'm going to steal another phrase from my last conversation with Jess, hopefully with this conversation, you can take some action and find out that the monster under your bed is really just your sock. I love that.
I do too. Well, I was going to say, to your point, if we were taught this, most of us would not want to be an adult in the first place. We're like as a child, like
adulting
the
is
highlight.
a lot. I did that as an episode too.
Right. Exactly. So to your point, if this was taught, most of us wouldn't want to be rushing into adulthood in the first place. So yes, I love it.
Sure.
Thank you.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, all right, everybody. I want to preview our nutrition nugget. So on Friday, we're talking about inulin. And you're like, hoo-ha, inulin. It's a source of fiber that you'll see in foods. And it's probably something you've seen, but maybe didn't know what it was or didn't know how to pronounce it. So what's the story with inulin? Is it a healthful ingredient? Is it something that we want to skip? How much can we have? Is it possible to overdo it? We're going to tackle all of this and more on Friday. So be sure to click the plus sign or the follow button on the app where you're listening now. And then the app will alert you when the Nutrition Nugget goes live on Friday morning. Well, as always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I am at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. Choose your platform wherever is convenient for you. Send a message. I love nothing more than hearing from you. So please send a message with your ideas, your questions, your takeaways. And of course, that's the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your health coach. Jess, thanks again for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And of course, friends, if you are not already a member, join our membership program by going to glow.fm/saladwithasideoffries to show your support for this podcast, this community, and your health. You'll get this week's recipe for the garlic lemon chicken. And in addition to your complimentary savings report, that's a $250 value, you're going to get 30-minute review with Jess to go over that savings report. So until next week, remember, your financial health contributes to your mental health and your physical health. And you can reclaim control of your money and your wellness too. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it and you are worth it. Happy healthy.